So the booking window is one time, your check-in is another time, and even after 100+ days on Disney Cruise Line, I still get confused and have trouble remembering when I need to be online at midnight Eastern time, because I live on the East Coast, to book all the things for Disney Cruise Line. So we're going to discuss all of it, and I have a free tool for you where we're going to be able to enter in our sale date, our status, and get all the dates added to our calendars because I need this too, because it's a problem. Okay, let's dig in. And let's start with itinerary releases because itinerary releases are so frustrating. You know why? Because Disney doesn't tell us when they do them. They just do them. And so you may want to plan a vacation like a year and a half in advance or 2 years in advance, and you can't do it because you're waiting on the Disney itinerary release. So then once they do release them, there's a pecking order of who can book the cruise when. And that starts all the way up with Pearl, all the way down to first time cruisers. So a first time cruiser may not be able to book the sailing that they want if it's taken up by all of the people in front of them. Now, this typically doesn't happen except for a Panama Canal cruise, which is a rare sailing that is absolutely incredible. I have done it myself. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I actually booked it when I was pregnant with a child and did not know when they were going to be born. It was crazy, but I had to book it opening day. So, booking dates for itinerary releases happen, but once they're out, they're out. So, for all of 26 and into 27, we have those itinerary releases. What we're waiting for is for the next wave of itinerary releases, which should happen sometime this winter, maybe February, maybe March. We'll see. But moving on, that's not why you're here. You're here because of the onboard booking and the check in process, and probably something along those lines. So, with the onboard booking, the really important thing to know about onboard booking is that you have to be paid in full to book anything that you want on your cruise. So, it does not matter if you are pearl or if you are silver, you have to be paid before you can book. That's number one. Number two, there is also a pecking order. So if you are a pearl, you are at top of the line, except for concierge. If you want to pay that extra pretty penny to have that extra, support and booking opportunity, you get it. That's what concierge is. But for everyone else, you have to kind of follow in the pattern. So if you are Pearl, you get 123 days before you're sailing to start booking stuff. If you're Platinum, that's 120, and so on and so forth. I'll put the dates right here. So, what is involved in the onboard booking process for onboard activities? Well, this includes things like your adult dining. So, this is like Palo dinner, Palo brunch, Enchanté, or Remy, all those like adult experiences right here. Also, your drink tastings. This is also going to include spa treatments, excursions, things like booking the nursery or Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. Now, with the nursery, we're not talking about the kids club. This is only for kids that are under the age of 3 or 3 years old at time of sailing. Everybody else, you just check them in when you are on board. So, but these booking things, there is a little bit of a not competitiveness, but there are priorities when you go online to book of things that are going to be coveted items. And I would say the most coveted items after my 19 plus sailings is probably the Palo Brunch. If you want the Palo Brunch, that is something you need to get on at midnight to be able to try to get. And honestly, there's no promises. Even though I am platinum, I would say the last 3 or 4 sailings I've been on, I have not been able to get it during this onboard check in. That's right. Like it is taken up by Pearl and concierge guests, and not even platinum members can get it. So, just something to note. Another coveted item is probably going to be the excursions, especially those in places like Alaska or like just smaller ports or specialized itineraries where maybe there's not a lot of options or those options are very specific. That's going to be another thing that you're going to want to book ahead of time. Cabanas, I would not even bother unless you are concierge, even looking. I have never, in all of my sailings, I've never seen a cabana available. I know that they do open up from time to time, but I have never been that lucky. I know other people get lucky. That has just not been my experience. But if you want to go ahead and try, I would just say, like in my rankings of my top priorities, when I go online to book, my priorities are probably going to be Palo brunch, Palo dinner, And then maybe like if I have a child that is between the ages of 3 and 12 and they want to do Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, that might be a priority. Um, but yeah, I mean, there are things that sell out, and that midnight is pretty important if it's important to you. So I would get on that. Now, I will say, if you have a great travel agent, and I work with some really great travel agents with Pirates and Princesses Travel, they will do all of this for you. That's right. So you don't have to stay up at midnight. If you have a really good travel agent, they will help you through all this process. Check out my links below, and that will get you connected with a really great travel agent. And yes, I know right now there's a lot of craziness in the travel agent space where there's some unethical practices and that sort of thing. I promise you, I don't gatekeep here, and so I would never put you in a position where you're in a bind or with someone that may not be ethical. Also, with the booking of activities, you can book these at any point from your booking window open all the way up to about 3 days before your cruise. Now, the other thing to note is you can cancel these bookings without charge. You're not being charged when you book these activities. This is just kind of like a reservation system. So you can go online at any point and cancel these reservations. Now, with excursions, you do need to cancel them within 3 days of that excursion. Now, if something happens, like let's say you are bringing a small child with you on an excursion and there's not a reservation for them, but it looks like they should be able to come, but then you go to Port Adventures and they're not allowed to come, you can work that out typically with the team on the ship to figure out how to change excursions or how to, fix that situation. But best practice is that you book and cancel any excursions within 3 days of your cruise. Now, if you are on the ship and something happens, weather related, or there's high winds, or they end up skipping the port, Disney will not charge you for that excursion cost. However, if you book your excursions outside of Disney, that's on you. So just something to be aware of and be prepared for. Now, a few FAQs about the booking activities experience. Do you need to be on at midnight if you don't really care about getting something specific? No, you don't. You can go online at any point in that booking window up until a few days before your cruise and book whatever it is you want if it's available. Now, if things are sold out, you could be SOL. But in that case, I would say check out a Facebook group. Most cruises, if not all, I believe all cruises have Facebook groups. You can join and you can reach out to folks in that Facebook group and see if people are willing to cancel or wanting to cancel. And then you can swap things as needed. And this is, again, no guarantee, but it is your best opportunity. Next question. Are there any activities you cannot book during the booking window? Yes, there is one coveted activity that is not bookable during the booking window, and that is the Royal Court. Now, this is not the royalty. The royalty costs like a ton of money. The Royal Court is free. And something Disney does that I just absolutely love is they create an equitable opportunity for everyone to book the Royal Court by releasing it 30 days in advance. Okay, let's move on to the check-in process and the check-in window. So the check-in window has different dates for different, statuses. And if you are at the top of the list, if you're Pearl Platinum on down, like you get to check in before everybody else. And this also, because Disney's rope drop culture infiltrates the cruise line, this also happens at midnight Eastern time. So if you live on the East Coast, like you got to be on at midnight Eastern time for check-in. And you may be wondering, like, Sarah, do I really need to be online? Only if you care about your port arrival time. If you have Disney transfers, so if you have Disney picking you up at the airport or picking you up at the hotel, you do not really need to worry about your online check-in at midnight. You can just go ahead and go to sleep and enjoy your full night of sleep. But if you care about your port arrival time, if you are driving yourself to the port, if you are taking an Uber to the port, if you're taking whatever other transportation you are to the port, and you want to be on the ship as early as possible, this is the opportunity. And it is brutal. Yeah, I would say every time any of these check-in windows happen, usually Disney crashes. I mean, not always, but like in my experience, there's always glitches that happen at midnight. It is chaotic, and you want to have a few things ready. So if you care about your port arrival time and you don't have Disney transfers, this is what you need to have ready before midnight. You need to have the passports of every person in your stateroom ready to go. Actually, you know what you should do? You should just go ahead and take pictures of the passports. You want the picture of the picture. You know what I'm talking about? The picture of the picture. And then you're also going to need a headshot of every person in your sailing party. So, like, basically shoulders up, facing the camera without like stuff all over their face. They need to be able to have a clear picture. So you need those two things when you go to check in so that you can, because you have to go through all this hot process. And they're also going to ask you for a credit card or how you're going to pay when you're on the ship. You can choose cash if you want to move faster and then, change it later, or you can use cash like on the ship. That's fine too. But they will ask you for a credit card. So choose cash if you want to like skip that process. They might also ask you to check in for your children and the kids club. And then after you do everything that they ask, upload these pictures, enter all the information, you need an emergency contact, your passport, your photo, all those things. Once all of that is uploaded, then and only then can you select your port arrival time. So this is going to take a few minutes. Like, be prepared and get ready and just, do what you need to do to get to that port arrival time. Now, port arrival times typically start around like 11 and they go all the way up to, I believe, like 2. And doesn't really matter. It depends. It depends on who you are if it matters. For my family, I have food allergies, we have a child with a disability, and we have little kids. So we want to get on the ship as early as possible because dealing with like little kids during that lunch hour and they're not getting food, and then also needing to check them into the kids club, the nursery, and talk with folks about our disability status, and also deal with my food allergies. That's a lot to do when you're boarding at like 1:30 or 2 and the kids get hangry. So we need to get on the ship pretty early. Like, we try to get on the ship early. However, if it was just me and someone else going that's another adult, no, it doesn't matter at all. It does not matter. Like, an hour or 2 hours is really not that big of a difference when you're traveling with just adults. But with children, there is a big difference. And just because your port arrival time is maybe, 11 a.m., doesn't mean you're boarding the ship at 11 a.m. because anything can happen. They oftentimes have people, inspecting the ship, or there might be a maintenance issue. And so what might have been 11:30 turns into noon, turns into 12:30. And so you just need to pack your patience, pack some snacks, and just be ready for a lot of things to happen. But I would lower the expectations about what time you're going to board the ship, that it will not be the port arrival time. It will absolutely not be the port arrival time unless you have a late port arrival time. And then typically you just kind of walk right through and walk onto the ship probably within 10 minutes. Those are the smoothest experiences possible because there is nobody waiting. The stress level is very low. It is very calm. So I highly recommend, if you have an adult sailing party only, to check that out. One more thing about online check-in that I screw up just about every time. When you get to the end, when you've done all the things, it is going to give you a port arrival form. Now, this is so critical. If there's nothing else you remember from this video, it needs to be this. You need to print or email or save that port arrival form, because then you will forget. And what happens when you forget is when you go the night before your cruise and you try to find that port arrival form, it is not there. It's not there. So right before your cruise, they kind of like just everything goes away. Like, you can't access really anything, specifically that port arrival form. So send yourself the email, save it to your wallet on your phone, print it. And I'm saying this for me because this is something I do almost every cruise, and I am so deep in Disney Cruise Line that there's no excuse for me. So I'm going to give this as my challenge. I'm going to give it to you. When you get to that bottom of that page, I know you are exhausted from the adrenaline rush of checking in for your cruise, but I need you to send yourself an email of that port arrival form. I need you to print that port arrival form, or just send it to your email. Just send it to your email because you'll always have it in your email, but do something with it. Do not let it sit and be like, oh, I'll come back to this later. Because maybe you will, but I won't. I won't. So if there's one other person that's like me out there, I need you to save, email, or print the port arrival form, because that is the key to getting you on the ship. It is. It doesn't make any sense. You enter in everything else. You go and they, look at your passport and everything. That's not enough for Disney. They need that port arrival form. Please, if nothing else in this video, save your port arrival form. Okay, I think that covers it, but I want to share with you about this tool that I have created for you and for me because you guys, I forget everything. And this tool is just a little link. I will link it below and you can access it for free. And all it does is you're going to enter your sail date, how many days you're sailing, and whether or not you're sailing concierge. And it is going to give you your booking window date, your final payment date, and your check-in date. And then you can click save to calendar for all three of those things so that you have it on your calendar when you need to check in, when you need to book your experiences, or when your final payment date is so that you don't forget. Anyway, I hope that is helpful for you because it is a game changer for me. And I'm so excited that AI now allows us to do all these things. And as a software engineer, like not having to fully code all of this is just, it's incredible that I could build all this in like a few hours versus what could take days. So I really hope you like it. And if you have questions or if you want other tools to be built, leave them in the comments below. If there is a topic you want discussed, or if there's something that I missed in this video, I want to know about it in the comments or find me at my Instagram below. This is always so fun. I have absolutely loved you coming along on this journey with me. And if you enjoy Disney Cruise Line content, I would love it if you would subscribe so other people can find videos like, okay, y'all, thank you. We'll see you in the next video.